Okay, so again, as with everything else, the best way to get good at it is to practice. So here are 4 problems to solve using completing the square. So go ahead and look to do that, and pause the video, work through all these, see how far you can get. And if when you get stuck, come back and see how to make some progress. And otherwise, if you get them, come back and see if you got the answer right. Okay? So we'll assume you pause the video and work through all this. Now remember, for completing the square, your first step is to get a coefficient of 1 on the x, which we have, and to get all the x's on one side and everything else on the other side, which we have. So now we're ready to hop right in. We're going to take that plus 8, going to divide by 2, and then we're going to square that term, and we're going to add that to both sides of the equation. So I had this, x squared plus 8x equals negative 15. So I'll add 16 to both sides. I'll rewrite the left as a perfect square, remembering that whatever this number is here, 4, is going to be this number here, plus 4, equals plus 1. Okay, so now I can take rewrite it a little bit just so it's a bit more clear what's going on. And I can take the square root of both sides, put the plus or minus out front. X plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 1, which is 1. Now I can get this, or it's equal to the negative. So I'll subtract 4 from both sides and get x equals negative 3, or x equals negative 5. And those are my 2 solutions. Actually, you could have gotten it by factoring initially, which should make you feel better. If you move the 15 over, you can factor it. So part of this is also to show you you'll get the same answer both ways. So, I mean, it's faster. But just so you know, if you can't figure out how to factor something, you can always complete the square on it to solve it. Okay, so let's try this one. The coefficient in front of the x squared is in fact 1, so I'm good to go. I just need to move all the numbers to the other side of the equation. Plus x equals 1. I'm going to take the coefficient in front of the x, which is actually 1. 1 divided by 2 is, well, 1/2. And then I'm going to take that and square it to get 1 squared over 2 squared, or 1/4. And I'm going to add that to both sides of the equation. Okay, now on the left I can rewrite it as a perfect square using this number here as this number here. So plus 1/2 square equals, now to get 1 with a common denominator of 4, it's 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I have x plus 1/2 squared equals 5 over 4. Now I'll square root both sides, put the plus or minus out front. And again, don't be frustrated if you're not going through these as fast as I am. It comes with experience. Plus or minus the square root of 5 divided by the square root of 4, which is the same thing as plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. So now I have 2 solutions. I've either got x plus 1/2 is equal to positive square root of 5 over 2, or x plus 1/2 is equal to, I'll move it over in a second, minus square root of 5 over 2. Now I'll subtract 1/2 from both sides. So say minus 1 plus root 5 over 2, or minus 1 minus root 5 over 2. Okay? And again, if you didn't get the last 2, but you weren't really sure on the first 2, now that you've gone through the first 2, go see if you can work through the second 2 and see if you can get them to make sense now. Okay. Remember, the first step is to make the coefficient of that x squared equal to 1. And then I'm going to move that over. Take that number here, divide it by 2, square it, and add that number to both sides. Now I can rewrite on the left as a perfect square using this number here. And I've got negative 2/3 plus, that would be 12/3, because 12 divided by 3 is 4. Thank you. So that's 10/3. This is like the one we did earlier on a different video. Square root of both sides, plus or minus. Again, this is an example of a kind of an ugly problem. And remember, we don't like square roots in the bottom, so we're going to do that. And 8 years later. Okay, so now I can break that up into 2 problems. I either have x minus 2 is equal to positive root 30 over 3, or x minus 2 is equal to negative root 30 over 3. Okay, add 2 to both sides. There we go. And 2 is the same thing as 6 over 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And finally, it's going to be 6 plus root 30 over 3, and 6 minus root 30 over 3. Now this is an example of a problem where you don't want to take a beautiful answer and ruin it by trying to simplify it. Remember, I do have a 6 here, so I could pull a 3 out of the 6, but then I wouldn't know what to do with the root 30, so there's no way that I can factor a 3 out and end up with anything reasonable over here in my scribbly part. So I can't cross out the 3. I can't reduce the 30 because it only comes out to 3 and 10 or 6 and 5. And none of these are perfect squares, so I can't pull them out. So in fact, this is as beautiful as solution is going to get.
So let's take a look at this last one. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to divide everything by 5 to get that coefficient to be 1. So that gives me x squared, computer's being weird, x squared minus 3x, x squared minus 3x is equal to 1/5. All right, now remember what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing here, I've got negative 3, I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'm going to square it. So that means I'm going to have 9, well, let's just go ahead and I'll have negative 9 squared divided by 2 squared, negative 3 squared, and then that's going to give me 9 over 4. So that's what I want to add to both sides. So I've got x squared minus 3x, and then plus 9 over 4. And that's going to equal to 1/5 plus 9 over 4. And this is a pretty obnoxious problem, so if you're able to make it all the way through, you're good. All right, so I know that I'm going to take that minus 3/2, and that's going to go there. So I have x minus 3/2, and that's going to be the quantity squared. That's what's going to equal the thing on the left side of the equal sign. Now over on the right, all I need to do is I need to come up with a common denominator. All right, that's going to be 20, so I multiply the top and bottom by 4, and multiply the top and the bottom by 5. So I have 4 over 20 plus 45 over 20. X minus 3/2 squared is equal to 49 over 20. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to take the square root of both sides of that equation. So I have x minus 3 over 2. And that's going to equal 7. Well, I'll just do square root of 49. Plus or minus, actually. So you got to remember to do the plus or minus. So I've got plus or minus, come here, my computer's acting up, plus or minus the square root of 49 over the square root of 20. The square root of 49 is just 7. The square root of 20 I can rewrite as the square root of 5 times 4, and that'll be 2 square root of 5. So I have x minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus 7 over 2 square root of 5. And Mom always said never take the square root in the denominator to a party. So I can multiply that. So x minus 3 halves is equal to plus or minus 7 squared 5 over, and that's going to be 2 times 5. So that's just going to be 5s together. So 2 times 5 is 10. So x is equal to, if I move here, and I'll have plus 3 halves on both sides. So that gives me 3 halves plus or minus 7 over the square root of 5, or 7 times the square root of 5 over 10. And again, if we want, we can get a common denominator. So I multiply the top and the bottom here by 5. So that gives me 15 over 10 plus or minus 7 root 5 over 10. And so finally, 15 plus or minus 7 square root of 5 over 10. And I'm done.